comprehension and perception is very, very important. Making sure that visitors understand their on-page content. So when I create content for a website, what I want to do is to make sure that anyone who lands on that website, whether it's, even if it's an academic website about university research, I want to make sure that if an 8-year-old lands on that website, they understand what it's about. They might not be the audience of that website, but they need to know straight away what it means so that they can decide whether to stay or whether to go. So comprehension, making sure that people understand what you're saying is very, very important. Yielding and acceptance. This is making sure that the people visiting your website believe or trust the information that you've got on the site, so they stay long enough to get to the next step. So if you make some bold claims about your product or service that don't seem true, so like if you've got something that says 97% of people across the world love our service, it's just so obviously not true, they're not going to believe it. So being accurate basically on your website, making sure people believe what you say on it. And then retention, getting people to actually remember what you said on your website and then make sure they want to return to it. So when you create something, when you create a website, what you want to do is test it against these 5 stages. And that might be done with a survey, it might be done with a focus group, getting someone to look at your website and then asking them questions about it. There's a lot of murmuring going on at the back of the room there. Yes, I'm looking at you 3. Can we have less speaking, please, from your group? Less speaking, please. It's very distracting when there is speaking happening in the room. So this, as well as websites, this can also be used as a checklist for online advertising as well. So you can take some online ads and also check that these stages all work for the people seeing them. So this is a model that was created back in 1919, because a lot of what we do for digital marketing is just about human nature. Understanding how we as humans work is how we understand how we do process information online. And this is what was called the technology acceptance model, created in 1919. And this applies to anything. So this applies to anything from like a can opener or a desk to a website. It's all about how useful something is, to see whether people are actually going to use it and how they actually use it. So the word perceived is very important, because you might have something that is very easy to use, but if it doesn't look easy to use, then people won't even try it in the first place. They're not going to accept it. So this is all about getting people to accept your product, to use your product in the way that you want them to, but it really shouldn't be about the way that you want them to. It's about you fulfilling a need that they have. So think about the perceived ease of use, how easy something looks to be, how useful it seems to be, like whether it's actually something that people are going to find useful. The way that people intend to use something when they buy it or when they open it up, and then how they actually use it. These are things that we need to look at when we're designing either a product or a piece of digital marketing or a website. It is part of the user experience, which we call UX. This framework is used a lot in marketing, but also in product design. And this is all about as well making sure that the business functions are all working together. Basically, there's no point in creating something that people won't find useful. So you might have a fantastic business idea, but if people don't think it's going to be useful to them, if they can't see how it's going to be useful to them, then they're not going to buy your product or service. And then you might have something that is incredibly useful. So you might have a currency conversion tool that's very useful and it works very well, but it looks really complicated. It's hard to see where you put the information in, and the information that comes back is written unclearly, and those sorts of things make it less useful to people. So it needs to be attractive to use and useful. So if you have a website that isn't serving a purpose, people won't use it. So if you just chuck a load of information on a website just because you feel like you have to have a website, then it's not going to be used. So you sort of think about what's useful to somebody on a restaurant website, for example. What are useful things to have on a restaurant website? Can anyone think of anything? A menu? Yes? What did you say? What's useful on a restaurant website? What might someone visiting a restaurant website find useful? So we've got a menu.
Coupons.
Coupons, did you say? Yeah, coupons, discounts, yes. What did you say? Someone else say something? Okay. What did you say? An image of the restaurant, absolutely, yes. Images, very, very useful because people want to see what the restaurant looks like, both the restaurant and the food as well. What else? What was useful on a restaurant website? Stu, sorry. Location, absolutely. Yes. Very useful on a restaurant website is the location. There's no point in having a website for your restaurant if it doesn't say where it is. Absolutely. What else? What else is useful?
The contacts.
Contacts. Yeah, absolutely. Contact details. So if you just want to ring or email or find them on social media to contact them or use a chat for them, absolutely contact. What else is useful? What else might you want to do when you go to a restaurant website? Reservations, yes, absolutely. You want to make it very easy for people to reserve a table. I went to a restaurant last week and in the UK, and you have to ring between 9 and 12 in the morning on a Monday or Tuesday to make a reservation. And it's just like, well, it's so unhelpful. I have to set a reminder on my phone to get me to ring. So just it's a booking form on your website, just make it simple. So yes, when you are thinking about what's useful to your customers, that's what you design a website for. If you are making a website for a purely online shop, you don't need to have a location necessarily of your business. It can be useful to know where that business is based, just when you're trying to work out how long it might take to get delivery. But generally, like if you've got to think about the real purpose of your website and what your users want from your website when you're building it, when you're designing it. So that's very, very important. Do some research. Don't just assume as well that what you find useful is what everyone else finds useful. You want to make sure that you do some research into what users of particular things want on a website and make sure you provide them. So you can, one of the things you can do with that is actually speak to people or do surveys, or you can also look around at your competitors as well and see what they're providing and try and make sure that you're at least matching them and finding that information. Oh, what was I going to say? The other thing is, if you have something that is very, very useful, you have a website that serves a purpose, but there's another website that's serving the exact same purpose, and theirs looks better, people are going to use the one that looks better. So all of these things sort of work together to create a good website. So, usability is very key. UX is a massive area of industry to get jobs in at the moment. All big businesses are thinking about UX, whether it's in their product, or their app, or their website. And some of the core attributes of web usability in particular are that it is easy to navigate. You don't want people to struggle to find what they need on your website. It needs to be very quick to load. If it takes a while for a page to load before anyone sees the information they need, they're going to leave. They're going to bounce off your website. It needs to be made for the medium. So that means it needs to work on here as well as on here, as well as potentially on a large screen as well. So it needs to work for the medium that people are using it on. These things aren't just useful for the user, they're also really key in how Google determines what's appeared on search engine results pages. So that's what SERPs stands for, search engine results pages. Google looks at usability as a massive part of where it ranks your website. So this isn't just going to make people more likely to buy your product, it's also going to make it more likely that they're going to find your website in the first place. So those are the instrumental attributes of web usability, and these are the non-instrumental. These are the things that are just about, they're about aesthetic and pleasure. We want a website to be pleasing to view, vivid and interactive, and we want it to be personalised to us. Because that's just what we want. We as humans want things to look pretty and to be interactive. We like to play around with things. So the reason why TikTok's here, although it's social media, it's not a website, it's all about constant gratification. You're constantly seeing things. You can also personalise what you see on the screen. So contrasting colours, images, we are drawn to shiny objects just like birds. Research does show that if a website gains traction, it gets lots of users, it's likely to be vivid and interactive. Yeah, so social media sites are all about this vividness, and everyone is seeing different content depending on who or what they follow. So yeah, the more you look at posts, the more the algorithm will show you what it thinks you want to see. So yeah, making things look nice is important. I have a student who built a very good website with really good content on it as part of their final project, but it was all bright green, like the colour of my sandals. It was very unpleasant to look at, and just wouldn't have been a successful website because of it. So having people on your team who are going to help with that design is very, very important. Other core attributes of web usability are affect and emotions. So you want your users to feel good when they're on your website. You want to have copy, the writing, that's going to evoke an emotion. Might also be done with pictures. So for example, on this restaurant website, when you've got the images of the restaurants, you want to evoke an emotion to make them think, oh, that looks cozy, or that looks stylish. That's going to get an emotional response from your users. They want to know that they've made the right choice by going to that website. And that's going to help you convert your customers and get them to come back. So that's very important in travel and in shopping. You need people to feel good about their purchase. You don't want people to feel guilty about buying those red trainers that I talked about yesterday. And you want to make people feel like if they go traveling somewhere, if they go and stay at a hotel, they're going to feel really, really good about their choice and they're going to have a really good time. So you've got your design of your website, it's vivid, it's attractive, it's usable. So then you need to think about how you get people to stay on the page and to actually read your content. And there's been lots and lots of research done by a company called Nielsen on this. They used eye tracking software to see where people's eyes hit a page, both on mobile and on desktop, and they've done lots of research on this. And it's really interesting that we read websites in a different way to how we might read a book or a magazine article. We generally scan a website, where we don't read every word, and it ends up being in a F-shaped pattern. So this, what's at the top of the page, we're most likely to scan across the page. But then it gets smaller, we'll look at less, and then in the end we only look at what's on the left-hand side of the page. So that means that when you're writing content, you need to get your really important messages across right at the top, right at the start of the page. It's not a novel, you're not trying to build suspense in your writing, you want to get straight to the point. The first lines of the text they receive from more gazes. So let's say you've got a really clear headline and then you want people to take an action, then you can put your call to action straight after the first couple of lines. If you haven't grabbed them in the first couple of lines, you're probably not going to grab them, so you may as well get your call to action in early. And then you want your most important words to be on the left of the page. And you want to entice people to keep scrolling. So having attractive imagery, making sure that when people scan the website, you're drawing their eye to words that are important to them. And by doing things like having images further down the page, headlines, subheadings that are really interesting, calls to action, you can draw people's eyes away from those first couple of words. So you need to use good design to try and get people to look at more on the page. So on this shopping website, what are you looking for today? Really clear that to a user that's going on there, they know what they want. You make it really easy for them to find exactly what they want straight away to the really important things. Don't make them search around the page, don't put it at the bottom of the page. Get it up the top, but in a really clear way. So you can see how many things that they've managed to get right at the top of their web page without it looking too cluttered. So that's good. It's good design to be able to get that much information in without people just looking at it and going, oh my god, that's just a big mess. So being very clear while also getting a promotion and a USP, selling point of using their product. And then who doesn't, to be honest, who just doesn't like a big picture of a dog and a cat? They've chosen their most popular, the animals that people are most likely to have, that they're buying pet products for, rather than doing it in alphabetical order or anything like that. Just catch people's eye with the most important things first.